In the last 2 hours, the US Coast Guard's confirmed that a Canadian aircraft detected underwater noises during the search for the submersible, which is missing in the North Atlantic, with 5 people on board. Earlier, American and Canadian officials said the effort to find the sub near the wreck of the Titanic is intensifying, as the 5 people on board are believed to have just over a day's supply of oxygen left. Heavy equipment and private companies capable of launching deep-sea rescue operations have been deployed. Our North America correspondent Nomia Iqbal reports from Newfoundland.
These are the last known pictures of the Titan submersible. It began its long descent to the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean on Sunday before vanishing without a trace. Last year, the BBC filmed the vessel. It's made for 5 people and can't be opened within, so if anything goes wrong, it has to be found. And with just more than a day and a half left of oxygen inside the vessel, the rescue mission's urgency can't be overstated.
It's a unique operation, it's a challenging operation, but right now we're focused on putting everything we can at it and searching as hard as we can and getting the assets out there as quickly as we can.
There are 3 British people trapped inside: the billionaire explorer Hamish Harding, businessman Shahzada Dawood, and his 19-year-old son Suleiman.
He had the enthusiastic, outlook of a young child. Really, he was so excited about this opportunity, and he mentioned it with the biggest smile possible on his face in telling me about it. So we were all very excited for him and happy for him that he was able to have this extraordinary opportunity.
Also inside is French explorer Paul-Henri Nargeolet and Stockton Rush, the man who runs the company Oceangate, which is in charge of this expedition to see the Titanic remains.
This is an experimental sub. People are informed that it's very dangerous down there.
Last year, he showed CBS how the vessel was operated via a games console.
The search and rescue teams are working in incredibly challenging conditions. This is the worst spring in decades, and it's made visibility really low. They are scouring an area in the Atlantic Ocean which is 70 miles wide and so deep that it's said to be less explored than outer space.
The ship carrying the sub left St. John's on Friday and travelled to the wreckage site, arriving on Sunday for a dive that was meant to last 8 hours. But an hour and 45 minutes later, all contact was lost. This is the 3rd expedition by Oceangate. Passengers pay nearly £200,000 to arrive in the province and see the Titanic's remains, which are more than a century old.
From a leader's perspective, it certainly feels helpless right now, but we're not hopeless. I mean, we do hope that this rescue mission is fruitful.
Questions are being asked about the potential safety problems of the submersible. Court documents from 2018 reveal a former worker of Oceangate raised concerns. In the meantime, teams are working out the logistics of what could now become the deepest search and rescue mission ever attempted. But first, they need to find the vessel. Nomia Iqbal, BBC News, Newfoundland, Canada.
The oceanographer David Gallows told us more about the risks of diving at that depth.
It's going into the sea, even at the surface, can be a dangerous game. But when you are diving to 1, 2, 3, 4 miles, many kilometers deep, you are really in a very hostile environment. And so as best we do our best to protect ourselves from that with engineering and the like. But it just seemed obvious that at some point there's going to be some mistake, because the ocean is very unforgiving. Even a tiny scratch in a viewport, we would replace that, because the ocean will take advantage of that and crush the viewport. Very strong bits of metal bottles that we put equipment in. If there's a scratch on the outside of that, even if it's titanium, the ocean will crush it like an empty paper cup. So we just knew that at some point this was going to happen, and we've gotten decades into it without it happening. And it happened now, it's happening. And I think we're all kind of stunned that it actually, what we predicted and what we knew, it has really come to pass right now. I do know that more likely than not, the search should begin at the place where it was last known to be. The last known position. We use that when we're looking for sunken aircraft and for ships as well. And that should probably be right over the Titanic site.
Right.
It could be something as devastating as a catastrophic collapse of the hull of the sub. It could be they're just caught on something. Whatever it is, that you've got to be able to explain why there were no signals from the sub. So it's complicated. I don't think we're going to know until it's found.